bad. Well, it's the start of Q2 2021
What does
in
that mean?
well, I see things as a spiritual being. I see things on the cosmic, like lunar season cycle. But then, of course, in human affairs, everything's about money and time and power and expectations and who's got what. Um, so yeah, it's the beginning of a new quarter of time where it's all measured by pictures and checking boxes and yes or no or one or zero or this or that. Um, and I don't know. I'm very tired of the game, and I don't know. I've been having some pretty big doubts about the creator economy in general and like what's underneath it. Kind of just seems like it's generational wealth, and I don't know. I mean, I'm even starting to doubt like consulting and coaching. I don't know, like things done for money. I just think it's a status game that everyone is playing to live up to some ideal by having some role or some status. Now, of course, our friend Eugene Way has written very well about status as a service. I just think it's true. And it used to sound great to be a person, a creative person, a writer who writes the truth. It sounded great. When I was 27, God, that sounded great. So heroic. And now I'm just tired. Because you don't get anywhere, right? You log on for the bad news, and yeah, I don't know. I don't like my life anymore, which I didn't think I would say. Um, and I don't know. I mean, now of course with me there's a simultaneous cultural critique and speaking objectively about the creator economy and content and media and funding and finance and all this stuff. And that sort of goes parallel with my own personal problems, which, again, it used to be a charming thought to just be a disaster, an emotional, interpersonal disaster, you know,
Yeah.
modeled off of the great writers and musicians. Um,
Yep.
I don't know.
I used to want to be completely insane and not have to be responsible for my own actions. That was my ideal way of living life. I would have been happy. I would have been happy losing my mind, with no responsibilities.
Well,
27.
yeah.
Of course, I also became a heroin addict too. So, as we talked about recently.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, you remind me of a guy like Miles Davis who went the distance. I mean, I'm not sure how old he was exactly. I mean, he was in his 60s or 70s. Now he is like the artistic temperament to a T, and he was selfish, and he would say that he was. He'd say if you're gonna create, you have to be selfish. You can't do what's not in your groove. And he got very, very good. He developed a style um, that was certainly commercially successful, but mostly less that it sold records, but that other artists wanted to play with him. He became a coveted person that you want, or you wanted to get in the Miles Davis quartet or quintet or sextet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you have something that special to offer and people know it, then people will walk behind you with a shovel cleaning your shit off the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I think a lot of people think that that's one way that they can live, and it's not really a way to live. it's not. I mean, it's not having any responsibility, and the problem with that is that you have no you have no recourse in the case that people don't really want your art, or they don't think that they want it, or they don't want it right away. Yeah, I like. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I don't really like what has become of the creator world. I don't even like the word creator or influencer or any of those things, because and one of the first thing I don't like about it is I don't like the diction. I don't like the word creator. It's almost like it's a label. It's a label that puts you in a place and doesn't really say anything about what you do. It's like it's like labeling your computer program or something, and what I really don't like about it, and this is what is selfish, is that I find it really hard to cheat. I find it really hard to squeeze by using whatever simple charm I had, or whatever whatever, and by charm I mean whether it's the charm of my personality, or the fact that my music may have been funny, or the fact that I might have known the right people, or whatever it was. And so that's the thing that irks me now, is that I actually have to do all this work, and I have to play other people's games in order to get where I need to go.
And you're still going to lose that game.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
Well, I mean, they say life is short and it goes by fast. I mean, all of a sudden you see that you're not the hot young thing, right? Now there's 500 other people who, are where you were when whatever your glory days are. And there's 500 more of them. And they're much better equipped and educated. And they have better ideas than you had. And they're better looking than you were. And it's like, there's no way, right? And it's like, well, then you need to confront the same old question of, what can you do that no one else can?
Yeah.
Right? 27 has its advantages, and it's got its blind spots. Now, right, there's a reason you and I aren't in a clubhouse room with our online pals being, oh God, isn't it so great to be, it's like, no, you and I are here having a therapy session / boxing match with the truth itself, right? Now, this to us is much more vital, because we know, like, we don't need friends, in a sense. Maybe I'm just like speaking for me. This is the work, right? The status game performance going to the right. It's like the job isn't at the party, right? The actual work of the work is like really hard and lonely, and it really summons up all of you and costs everything. And if you aren't embarrassing yourself or pouring as much trauma as you can into the microphone or the canvas or whatever, you're not going to make it, because you have to really be at your edge.
You have to be at your edge. You have to constantly be doing that.
Yeah, and I think I'm just like seeing how hard it is, and it's like, God, you really, it's like, once you put in your 10,000 hours, I guess, and again, it's like, this is what it has to be at this age. There's no like leaning back in a nice chair at a cafe in Paris and talking about, oh, like, isn't it so great to be a writer, be so wise? It's like, fuck, man, it's not that, and no one, yeah.
Oh man, people have no idea what it's like to be a musician. I'm really lucky this year, because there's this big animated film by Sony Pictures is coming out called The Mitchells versus the Machines, and they wanted to use one of our songs as in the trailer for it, a song that we released 11 years ago.
And when you say ours,
meaning the Meishi, the band that I played with and toured with for the majority of my music and touring and sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle, I guess. And this is a band that we worked really, really hard, and we did we did all the right things. In fact, we were actually we weren't trying to become successful. We weren't trying to become famous. We weren't really. I mean, sure, we did publicity stunts, but they were more egotistical than anything. And it was more like us saying, like, look, we're crazy artists and this is what we do. And people just seemed to love it. Like, people loved what we were doing. And and licensing the song to this trailer has been kind of like it's been kind of painful in a way, because it's a reminder that we were very close to having some sort of success, and then kind of threw it away. Kind of, and because we had no idea what we had, and we had no idea that what we had was so hard to get, because we weren't looking at the world in that way. And then the other thing is like, it's one of those things where when you say there's no sitting back at a cafe and thinking about how great it is to be a writer, well, it's like when you're a musician who pours your heart into what you do, then the greatest thing that I have to look forward to is selling a song to Sony to be in a commercial about a movie. And yay, like, the movie is scored by Mark Mothersbaugh. That's great. So therefore we're in good company. And it's like, it's money, and so we can show our friends and go, look what we did, and they can feel proud of us or something. There's no like there's no hanging out talking about this conversation right now is as close to that as it gets. That's as close as, and I'm so grateful that we can do that, because otherwise it would really be torture, right?
Yeah. The fact, well, yeah, and it's like, even if, I mean, like, even the Academy Awards, it's like you get your moment in the spotlight and then the program moves on, right? I remember some famous actor talking about the Academy Awards, the Oscars, and it's like, for them it's a chance to go hang out with your friends, right? And because they all know how hard the work really is.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's nice to go and like be in a tux and be with the other people, and like you just get to like have fun and relax and joke around and smile and laugh and see people you love.
We should do that. We should get together in tuxes sometime.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be funny.
To host this show in tuxes, give each other awards.
What would be really funny is if you and I are sitting in tuxes and we get like an outdoor seating at like a nice restaurant, and you and I both have our phones on the table and our earbuds in, and we're both in tuxes at the same table. Oh, that would be good.
Yes.
See, now there's an idea of like, there's a maybe way, right? Because you and I aren't old and crotchety yet, and it's very important to be your age.
Is it? I don't even know. I feel like the internet is kind of wiping out the meaning of ages, but like, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess like maybe what is like weighing me down is I see now how long 7 years is, and like I'm not going to be old in 7 years. I'm not even going to be old 7 years after that. And it's like, God, it's a lot of 15-hour days, and it's a lot of quarters all the way. You know, as we've said before on this podcast, like the calendar and clock just keep on unfolding time.
I don't know if it's because this is just hopeful thinking, but doing the other podcast that I do, my age never comes up. The age of the host never comes up. The age of the guests never come up.
I know. Yeah.
And a lot of the people that we deal with online are actually anonymous. So who gives a fuck what their ages are? No one cares. No one knows. And I think that's so interesting, because when you compare that to the limelight of music in 2008, when we were doing our thing, how it was like we kind of didn't realize that, well, we only had about 5 years of peak left in us anyway, because you're dead at 31.
Well, I don't see, but like you listen to guys, you know, I was recently spending time with my family in their nice house with a nice big TV and a nice big Comcast or Verizon cable package, and I ended up watching a special on Crosby, Stills and Nash. And those guys they kept going. You know, I mean, like Neil Young, I mean, he's Paul McCartney. Like, those guys are, I mean, Mick Jagger can
Sure.
outdance and outrun me. He's in his
Yes.
70s.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
Keith Richards will outlive us all for sure.
yeah.
But those guys, but most of them they are both artists and business people, and they have there's a bit of privilege that there's a bit of earned privilege there, I think, and that and they're exceptions. I think that I think that I mean I kept making music. I never stopped. In fact, I kept putting out records, but I was not Crosby, Stills and Nash, and it was like, but and the thing is, it's not even the age that wore me down. It wasn't at all. It was the fact that I had kept doing it over and over again to failure, and then as you get older, I don't know, this might not happen for everyone, but as you get older, your goals change, your dreams
Yeah.
sort of change a little bit, your fantasies change,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and what I did through all of
Fantasies
that,
change. Oof.
what I did was I kept music and art the centerpiece of whatever my goals were. Maybe if when I was 25, I really just wanted to be popular and make music. I really wanted my music to be popular. I guess you could say that. And then in my 30s, I wanted to just make as much music as possible. And then now I'm 40, and really, I just want to. I mean, I'm happy making anything, really. So it's kind of it's like, but I don't have the same fantasy um, of wanting a lot of attention for what I do. And I'm grateful for that, because that's a really torturous thing to want. It's like a drug, really.
Yeah, and I mean, wanting attention. You know, I had a tweet storm the other day of like what an audio creator is and is not. I think it's sort of like it's another absurd title, right? People who are themselves for a living, and they go and they talk and they chat, which I guess there's nothing wrong with it, and it is a job that you can do well and not well. Reminded me, like, an infant is an audio creator. They certainly create noise that people tune into. Yeah, I don't know. People wanting to be important. I mean, so
What?
much of media is about not wanting to be lonely. It's not being able to be alone. And it's like, maybe I'm just bitter that I too can't be alone, and that I am not above loneliness. I can't defeat it. I can't be superior to it. I can't sit with my smug discipline, reading Twitter and watching people talk about being burned out and think I'm above it. I did all the way up till now. I mean, I had a star-studded productive 2020. I did not miss a beat. I watched everyone else fail and flail, and I just kept to my grindstone.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the way. Recently, I've slipped, and
But your success has been personal, right? I mean, that's something that you set
well,
out to do for yourself.
yeah, I mean, even like today, I found a David Bowie quote where he's like, he's essentially saying, remember why you got into this, and remember that you are doing this because there was a time where you had something that you had eating you up inside. So right now, I'm sort of having to confront with my new maturity what the hell I'm actually doing and why, and should I keep going, and what's really there. And honestly, it's made me want to delete almost everything I've ever published, just because it's like, because it's in the way. Like, I really don't think anything I've written before a week ago is worth reading. And that's because, you know what? I screwed up, and I was privileged and lucky And I never needed my work to be good, right? Even like in the last year, I've been screwing around doing singing, which is great and it's nice, but it's like I am off the hook from having to be good at either of them. I never have to be good. I'm not even trying to be good. And that's why I fucking hate it. Because I'm a hack. Because I don't edit my stuff. I don't shape it. I don't care to. I just keep making and doing more. And I hate it.
Yeah, you've as long as I've known you, you haven't really been an editor, have you? I mean, how do you publish what you publish? Do you just write and then publish?
It takes risk. I don't know. I mean, I will sometimes compose. I mean, everything I've ever really put out is like rushed. I really have, yeah. I mean, I used to work over these notes that was going to be a memoir, but I learned I don't want to tell those stories. I don't want to tell the stories of relationships that went wrong because they're so predictable and so boring.
Yeah.
My life has actually been very boring. And that's maybe the tragedy. That's maybe the lesson I didn't want to learn is even if I tore my skin off and bared my soul, nobody would care because it's not compelling.
Well, I don't think that I mean, I don't know. Sure, maybe your life has been boring to you, but the reason that I'm friends with you and that I'm talking to you and that I enjoy these conversations is not because I think that you have had an interesting life, but that you look at life in an interesting way. And isn't that way more important than having an interesting life?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because there's no, the thing about getting attention and success or whatever that is like you wake up and you have to live. And eventually you're the only one you really need to appease, right? Nobody can care that your band did well or not, right? And again, look at the people who've succeeded. Like everyone, I mean, the Beatles certainly, I mean, like it's a very powerful love-hate that they have with each other, right? I mean, you're always at war.
Oh man, tell me about it. No, playing in a band for me, by the end of our run in the band, I was the only original member anymore. It was like,
Wow.
And it's funny now dealing with licensing music 10 years after ending that is like I feel like I'm talking to family members that I haven't talked to in decades. And that we know we love each other, we're cool, but like if we ever thought like, hey, let's try making some music together, it would just become a passive aggressive feast.
Passive aggressive feast. Yes. I like that. Yeah, I'm sort of mad about as well is like it's just bitter adults everywhere. Everyone, and especially like with what's happening in the last year, it's like everyone's complaining, everyone's not getting enough. Everyone has their own reason of why life should be less difficult for them, or they should get more attention and recognition and compensation. And it's like I spent the last 10 years reading Twitter all the time. And I know exactly what that leads to. And it's like, oof, I don't want to listen to it anymore. I know it's just going to be everyone bitter and crotchety and complaining. And frankly, that's what the country is. I mean, what's our national pastime? Politics, which is the sport of complaining and finger pointing. And it's like, I'm so uninterested and unimpressed. And it makes someone not want to be an adult, right? Then you get mad at younger generations for being unfocused and being selfish. It's like, well, you don't give them a good reason to be an adult. Look at the example you set.
Yeah.
You sit around and point fingers and don't actually do work. Right? Yeah. I mean, the fact that, sorry to interrupt again, but like the fact that like work and money seem to be divorced, power and competence seem to be divorced. How can you make a case that anybody should do anything but want to be a YouTube creator or, make TikTok? The great thing about TikTok is it's a bunch of kids going on and finally having a place to say how absurd their parents are and how absurd their childhood is and the society they live in is. And now they're free to go do it. And that's their sense of humor, and it's great. But it's like we're going to reach a point where, yeah, it's not defensible, right? I mean, we're on course for a society of 65 and older retired people, and the people younger can't have kids or houses because they can't afford it. It's all too expensive. And it's like, well, all right, watch them die off, and you've got your 60 somethings, and you're retired, and you guys can't have kids, and society ends. It's like you got what you paid for.
We will have a crotchety world,
right? Which
I like the word crotchety, by the way.
Well, it's funny. I wish we could get. I wish we could get your friend and mine, Noah Smith, on here to talk about Japan. You know,
he's a crotchety dude.
In Japan, that's what's happening.
Oh, is it?
Not the birth rate is really like falling off, and they're like pretty scared about it.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see what's happening even in this country. Just like people having less sex. God, when I was in my 20s, everyone wanted to have sex all the time.
Yeah, sex. Well, you know, I mean, if we really had the guts, we would make this a sex, drugs, and rock and roll episode.
It doesn't take guts for me to talk about that, but it's pretty easy.
Well, yeah. I mean, sex is serious. I mean, sex is as hard as work. I mean, it's real. It's difficult because I mean, it's very much a collaboration, right? There's as much of a love-hate with a lover and a sexual partner as there is with a musical collaborator.
Man, it is such a sex is such a it's such a thing that I feel like an old man saying this, but young people do not understand sex. They just don't, or what it means. I mean, maybe they do, and that's why that people are having less.
It's scary. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary.
They're starting to understand it more because, we are all products of a world where birth control exists, and that's a pretty weird thing, you know. Like yeah, I mean, like up until the 70s, like you didn't just have sex with somebody like for fun. It wasn't something that you would do.
Yeah.
And through up until 2010, people did that, and I guess people still do it. I guess that now it's just a thing that you need an app for. But
wait, are you talking about casual sex?
I'm just talking about casual sex. It's sex for fun.
Yeah. Casual. I don't know. It's
sex without
I can't imagine sex being casual.
I guess.
I mean, maybe like maybe it's that I can't keep it casual, right? I do have a like traditional streak in me a bit. Like it's been a long time since I've like done hookups. You know, it would also have to go back to college. And
there's no reason for sex to be a casual thing. I mean, like
it's not casual at all.
I feel like an old man saying that because I've had my share of casual sex. I think, but well, I mean, I'm not actually proud of it at this point because it's like it's one of those things where now I know that it doesn't really exist. There's no such thing as sex without consequences. And the fact that we've even tried to have sex without the emotion in it is both stupid and gross. It's like
well, I'm to be intimate with someone, you really are holding all of their grief, and that's a magical, sacred, difficult, heavy lift to even if things are going great and it's like a new spark thing that happened. Like getting intimate it's two souls in one confrontation, and it's a heavy load. And
any two people that can get together and have sex and the next day walk away from each other and never talk to each other again have some issues. Hard. They have issues. I mean, I think that's not just hard. It's there's something going on there that in their life makes that okay. That's pretty weird.
Well, you know, and again, this is the trouble you get into the older you get. It's like, well, we're all back on our quarterly system. I've got my habits and rituals and routines and my due dates and my calendars and my time is spoken for. And yeah, I mean, people don't fit into each other's lives because of timing. And you know what? Love is pretty demanding. And
Oh,
some
love.
people,
Tell me about it.
well,
Yeah.
and it's tough, when you start mixing up sex and friendship and money slash performing a role and fulfilling a need for someone else. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I have been in homes and couples and certainly sets of parents where it's mostly an administrative relationship. And it's like there's no romance, no love, probably no sex. And it's like, well, one person, you've got a housekeeper and a tax preparer, and then another, and a chef. And the other, you've got, I don't know, I guess the breadwinner slash you come to the relationship with millions of dollars already. And, but I don't,
Nothing like
it's,
my marriage. Well, how is this? So I feel like we've digressed from
yeah,
from what we were talking about,
so
in a
there's 30
beautiful
minutes.
way.
All right. So we've blown half the episode and we've got on a digression.
When should we get into
What's
drugs
next?
and rock and roll next? We talked
Well,
about sex and relationship.
okay. Yeah. So drugs. And I've
Well, the
said,
funny here's something about when I was kind of at the height of my sex addiction. It was not it. There's actually a 12-step group that's all about sex addiction, and it's actually not called Sex Addicts Anonymous. It's called Sex and Love Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. So people recognize that they're not just addicted to sex, but they're actually addicted to the feeling of falling in love with other people. And that's definitely what I suffered from. I basically found people, I became infatuated with people, and it made me crazy. I mean, it made me crazy even if I didn't know anybody, because it was a total fantasy. It was like I would make up a person in my mind after meeting them once. And yeah, and that was a crazy place to be. I don't think I was actually a sex and love addict. I mean, I definitely had an issue with it, but yeah.
Yeah, I like. Wow.
It was because it was a time in my life when I was willing to do anything to not sit in my own skin.
Wow.
And so that leads to drug abuse. That leads to a lot of drinking. It leads to being an artist. It leads to, sex and love addiction. Anything, food, anything. So I didn't actually have to sit in this bag of skin.
Well,
and
yeah.
not think about it.
Yeah. I know. Now you're reminding me of quotes from Leonard Cohen and Rick Rubin. All guys who made it. Yeah, I mean, you reach this point, and I mean, it hits some people younger, right? You've got some suicides in their teens. You've got some in their 20s. Age 27 is a popular one.
That was my year that I barely made it through, for sure.
And it's like once you kind of like make it out of that, I don't know. And I think I'm like reaching the point where I'm used to being sort of like an emotional, mildly depressed, pretty manic kind of mind, and I've sort of learned how to drive this thing.
I think that you have to find a little bit of discipline. Either you find discipline
so much. I mean, you just have to you have to live with it, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't get to be the noun without doing the verb. I mean, I've literally not had a life because I was with my keyboard.
Yeah. But the discipline can be anything. The discipline can be
Yeah,
actually
I mean, it's an obsession.
doing one drug in a safe way or whatever, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it can be knowing that this is what you want, that you want to. Another way to describe the feeling of being an addict is that no matter where you are, you want to be. It's the same thing as not wanting to be in your own skin. It's like always feeling like you have a place to be. You're always chasing something, right? Always chasing a feeling. So, for instance, I could be on having this conversation with you, and my mind is already okay. I need to get off. I need to get off this get away from this
Oh
conversation
wow.
because there's
Yeah.
another thing that I need to do. And usually you
Right.
fill that with whatever is going to give you the dopamine hit. It's either I need to get high, I need to think about how I'm going to get high
Mm.
next. I need to make sure that I get enough dope so that I don't have to worry about where it's going to come from next time. Or it's something else, like I've got another conversation that I want to get to, or I want to make art, or I want to read this book, or whatever it is. But that's
Mm-hmm.
the state of mind for me of what it was, is always wanting to move on to the next thing, never being able to just sit and enjoy the moment. And I think that if you're really lucky, if you're really lucky, you can recognize that about yourself and do something like, I don't know, meditation, or just
Ugh.
know that those shortcomings exist in you, and then find some sort of discipline to get through it. And sometimes you know,
Yeah.
you found a discipline, and your discipline is
Yeah.
being your keyboard pretty much.
Yeah.
My
It,
discipline was getting sober. My discipline was getting sober and then putting all of my excess energy into creating sound and music. That's what it was.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but but yeah, I think a lot of people don't get that, and that's when suicide becomes the answer. That's, I
Yeah.
mean, that's at least what it was for me. It was there was nothing else that could save me, and so I well, I don't know. We don't need to start talking about
Well,
suicide
no.
because those are
Well,
pretty dark thoughts. But when
it
you start to
is.
think that there's no, you don't do any good on this planet. Nobody needs you. Nobody even wants you. You make the world a worse
Well,
place. Why are you even here?
sure. I mean, but I'm saying that that's sort of the default state of the economy right now. Is, well, what good are you?
And that's true.
What
This
do you do?
the word value is overused.
Right.
Everything needs to have a value or it's valueless. Can you imagine how many people are considered valueless in the world right now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and you know, like, I'm of two minds about this. I'm sympathetic to human beings, but I'm also a perfectionist and think in technical quality terms. And it's like, well, a lot of people's work is not good enough, and it should not be polluting the product. And it's like, well, that's fine. Like that's fine. Like, but
Hmm.
they, you know, we shouldn't let bad work be done. At least for the official final version of whatever the thing is, if there is a final version. Um, yeah,
Wow.
it's like,
I don't even know what that means. We should not let. We should.
well, it's like a symphony, right? I mean, it's like you've got a symphony, and it's like, well, just people may need to play, but it's like, well, you only let the really good ones in.
Who decides who are the good ones, though? There's always a hierarchy, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, so, you know, history and tradition will, you know, they either play in time or they don't. Well, yeah, you know, I mean, quality standards, right? I mean, like, where does that come from, right? I mean, we could look at, like, an industry like aviation, right? All sorts of rules, all sorts of procedures, all sorts of standards that are checked for every single time, where it's clear what's good and not. Now, in music, you have that in a sense, right? There's all
Uh,
sorts of music history, right? Like, it's not all a free for all. Now, that's, of course, part of it, but, you know, it all depends on the, like the expectations that are set for a thing, right?
I don't
If
know.
you go to hear Beethoven's symphony performed, it's like you want to get that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's come hear the, Miles Davis quintet play at this bar, it's like you're going there because they're going to do some crazy shit that no one knows what they're going to do, least of all Miles Davis and John Coltrane. And
Yeah.
the point is to get to a point where you're discovering and doing things so naturally that could not be predicted, and that's the feel, that's what you go there for.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be known what it's going to be or how it's going to end.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
But yeah, to bring it back to like, yeah, people who are valueless and how that leads to suicide, it reminds me of a quote. I believe he's a psychologist or therapist named Rollo May. He's got a quote that says, "Depression is the inability to construct a future."
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that. I mean,
and
generically speaking, yeah.
and I mean, I would say that everyone today has to be creative, right? Because what to do next is a question every animal asks, right? Survival is asking you to do something next, because you can't just stay still. You got to
Uh-huh.
keep moving. Change is the only constant, so you have to keep moving. It's like,
Uh-huh.
well, what do you do next?
Yeah.
And it used to be answered for you, either your boss or your family or something else. You really didn't have much choice. But now everyone gets to choose. Like even in school, it's like Zoom school competes against
Uh-huh.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, like finding your own voice, creating your own content. All of a sudden, like the traditional path is like a side hustle. Right? All of a sudden it's like a hedge. It's like, well, I'll get B pluses in school just to kind of keep my options open. If I, like the comfy, familiar path is there. It's sort of like, going self-published versus traditional. And it's
Yeah.
like you sort of have to keep both plans moving at once, and then you can always abandon ship
Yeah.
anytime. Now
Yeah.
that makes the world terrible, because everyone's only halfway in, and that anybody, this is why I really can't stand going to companies,
Mm-hmm.
because they are living for the parking lot. They've got another life somewhere else.
Yeah.
You can't tell if it's a real performance or not. And
Well,
I don't
yeah.
know. And I mean, that's just life, right? You get that in sex, you get that in work, you get that in family. I don't know. Honesty.
Well,
Isn't that the thing we all want?
I think this is actually related to my gripe about hierarchies, actually, because I mean, we did this to ourselves, right? This that half-assedry that that
Mm.
that really sucks in the world. Um, do you believe that there in the human in humanity that there are naturally leaders and followers? Do you believe in alpha humans?
Um,
Because
no,
like
I mean, I think it's a
a pack of
choice. I think
wolves
it's a
always has a
calling.
leader, right? So and
Yeah, I
and
mean, you sort of get thrown to the wolves, and like they sort of sort themselves out into order.
yeah, and I feel like one of the things about social media is that you kind of get this weird sort of Silicon Valley version of sorting out naturally, and it's so bizarre who becomes somebody who wants to lead, who's comfortable with it in, say, like a setting like Twitter, and there are people that really like my brother. He likes Twitter a lot, but he used my brother. I had this conversation with him the other day. He uses social media a lot. He really likes Facebook. I don't know why. He's good at it or something. He can get a lot of engagement on it, but when it comes to Twitter, he says he just wants to be a follower. He's just not a leader. And I thought that was such an interesting thing for someone to
Mm.
say, just like, I'm not a leader. I'm not an alpha when it comes to certain social media. And how some people really feed off of that, and it does kind of settle into, we have leaders and followers, and how that no matter what, even when we try, we can't get away from these sort of hierarchies that, like, yeah, that make us feel like we need to be doing something. I mean, I know that as a musician, I was only as valuable as the number of people that wanted to pay attention to me, either for myself or for my management or for the club that I was playing at or for the record label owner or whatever. They only wanted to know how many people were interested in what I was doing. And at least there were many facets of that. And now one of the issues I have with social media is that it all gets boiled down to just one number, really. And I wonder
Well,
if that's a
those are
natural thing or if that is a really unnatural thing that we've
well.
done. Now, if you have 200,000 followers on Twitter, it's like, oh wow, you must be very important, even if you are an anonymous, the anime character or whatever. Like, how did we let that happen?
Well, it all depends on who's making that judgment, right? Those are vanity metrics, and
They always have been, though. But they always have been, really. They're vanity metrics that can turn into money. They can be monetized.
yeah,
That's what people. That's
sure,
why people value them.
right. I mean, yeah. But I guess like my question is like, and then what happens? Right? It's like
I
you
mean,
get the
I was
Marvel movie, and then what happens?
yeah. I mean,
You're
I was in
back.
a
You're
I was in
back.
a relative. The band that I played in was relatively successful in the UK. Like, we were kind of, I wouldn't say we were a household name, but everyone knew one of our songs because it was in a TV show. It was a TV show theme, and so everyone knew that, kind of a household name. But there was no social media at the time. Fast forward 10 years, on Twitter I have 500 followers, and like that's what
Well,
happened.
you've never talked about it, right? I
Never
mean,
talked about what?
being in the band, you've never posted anything about it.
I
Some
know.
people, some
Well, I
people
know that.
talk endlessly about their thing, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
could see you being someone with 10,000 followers saying, "Oh, former lead singer of this," and you've got your link
Well,
tree
no,
blown out, and you've got this other voice
I don't think so,
pivoting
because
that, right? And it's like, well, if you're trying to fundraise for some kind of audio technology app, it's like, well, there's your platform.
maybe, but I don't know if anybody. Well, first of all, the music that I made 10 years ago has no relevance today, other than maybe it's in
Obviously not. Sony just fucking bought it.
what. Well, that's true. Okay. But that was kind of a left field kind of thing. That was because there was a director that just happened to
You
love the
sent me
song.
some of your music 2 months ago, and I listened to it, and I thought it was really good.
Mm-hmm. I sent that to you because I I made that album and it never got released, and then every time I meet someone who I think might actually appreciate it, I will send it to them, but not because I think it has relevance today. Right.
Relevance. I mean, what is like?
Yeah, relevance.
Yeah, that's
Another one of
so.
those words.
So I mean, I think I've gotten up past the mainstream because I've learned that public life is a performance. B, it's for lonely people. It's for people who aren't really doing anything, right? Like I like what Nick Cave says. He says inspiration is a word for people who aren't really doing anything. And this actually gets back to sex. And it's like you may not be able to trust anyone in the world except yourself. And really, sexual pleasure disappoints. It does. What doesn't disappoint, maybe the only thing, maybe this is like a version of sex, right? I mean, art and sex, I think, are linked together. And sex is kind of too dangerous, too personal, and so you make art instead. And it's like it's a sort of insemination, right? A lot of people who write books or make paintings or films, they say they don't need to have kids because they're going to live on through their art. And I think that's valid. I mean,
Hmm.
is painting and ejaculation very different? Is finishing a painting and having a kid? You know, I think there's something there where it's like, well, what's the point of having a kid? It's not like we're short on human beings. People want, frankly, it's an addiction. It's a place to park your fear.
I get excited about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's another reason. It's another way to not be alone. I mean, it's another fleeing the really serious work of sitting in a room alone and not wanting to kill yourself or do drugs or, go get a job that other people will understand. And that I think is the real work of being the person that 27-year-old, Geoff and Geoff wanted to be. And then you get there and it's like, fuck, I guess it is a lot of sitting in a room and trying to not kill yourself and trying to listen to the voice that you're running away, that you want to, makes you want to run away to sex and drugs. And, rock and roll is great if you treat it like an art. I don't know. I sang tonight. I did 9 songs before I came on here tonight, on Smule singing app.
You're all warmed up.
Well, and I've been studying, or at least watching videos of how to breathe for singers. And tonight I felt like I'm still learning how to sing, like technically.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I even am really doing it right. I'm supposed to feel it in my core.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's hard. And it's not really, I mean, there's moments of it being fun and being very freeing. But yeah, some days it's work.
I think I want to get obsessed with writing lyrics. That's what I want to do. But you never really get to choose what you get obsessed with, do you?
Well,
can you choose? I'm. If
I mean,
anybody
until
can,
you're
I
sending
probably
me 40 texts a day, you're not obsessed. Right?
Well, that's
you
not
need
true.
a way
There's
for
all
me to
different
tell
types
you
of
you're
obsession.
writing too much. I've never had to tell someone they're writing too much.
I think there's all different types of obsession. Right. Yeah. It's just I have a very obsessive mind. I tend to get obsessed with things, and it will last for months.
Now, are these going to be lyrics for who to sing?
I don't know. I guess for me, but I'm not sure. It's just one of those things that I never really fell in love with writing lyrics, and it seems crazy that I never really did. I should have. It sounds like something that I would love. And that's kind of what my life is like. There's like, for instance, I never really fell in love with surfing, but it's probably something that I would love and I would get obsessed with. I did get obsessed with making my own ice cream at home once, and I did it for a month, and it was great, and I loved it, and it was like writing lyrics, probably.
Oh yeah, like we've said before, doing anything is art.
Yeah.
I mean,
making ice cream is definitely art.
I mean, surfing is really hard, and it takes a lot of patience, and there's very small amount of time that actually feels great.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe a lot of people would probably argue that just being out on the water feels great, but yeah, it's one of those things I never really got obsessed with, so I don't know if I can talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
virtues of
I mean, it's the noun and the verb, right? It's like a lot of people like the idea of being a writer or being a painter, but they don't actually like writing and painting. And it's like, well,
I definitely,
if you want to be the noun, just go do some of the verb. Like you should you should go try it, because it's not about not doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been kind of obsessed with playing piano, which is my favorite thing to do, which I don't do publicly enough. I don't actually post what I
remember
write.
The first time you sent me video of you playing piano, it brought me to tears.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. Should I send you another piece?
Sure.
This time with more lyrics. I think I did write lyrics for that piece. I did. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I need to do. Is I need to write more lyrics. Well, cool. Well, this has been a nice talk.
Yeah.
But we talked about suicide and sex and obsession
and the creator economy being bunk. It's loneliness on overdrive.
It
It's me, me,
really
me, me,
is.
me, 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 me. A bunch of
Yeah.
audio creators. They're infants. And I now am no longer impressed with what I have done. I need to grow up. I need to grow up. I have not grown up. And I feel like deleting a lot of my published work and stripping my profiles down to nothing and starting over at the beginning and really asking myself, why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I not somewhere safer? What is my message? What have I learned? Who am I and why should someone listen? Why am I worth bandwidth considering how good silence is, how good music is, and how interesting all of the angry, passionate, beautiful younger people are out there who have more energy and better ideas than me. What is my role? And you know what? Like it's got the same flavor of suicide because you're really asking, what is my future? How can I construct a future? I can't just go log on to email again tomorrow. I can't. So what will I do and how will I tolerate it? How will I make it through tonight? And then who will I be when the sun comes up tomorrow? And business hours begin and the clock starts ticking and everyone's looking at their bank account and their calendar and other people doing things. I'm sick of it. I hate the fucking game so much. I want to blow the whole game up. It makes me sick. I hate it. I hate it. I hate everything about it and myself. So that's how I'm doing. I'm doing well. It sounds productive, right? This is a good stepping off point. Stepping off to go, write some of this down and see what happens. Or
yeah, but make sure it's good, and then make sure you delete it when you're done.
Well, we're here for a long time, not a good time. So
yeah, well, try to enjoy part of it, I guess.
Yeah, I can't afford to enjoy it yet.
Really, it's about the it costs money to enjoy, huh?
It costs money to live.
That's because of those damn hierarchies. I'm telling you.
I don't know if it's hierarchies. I mean, all ownership goes back to a theft.
It's hierarchies because we've all decided, because somebody decided that we needed. Never mind. I don't want to get into this conversation.
No, I mean, is it hierarchies or is it who owns what?
It's who owns what, but it's the fact that we've decided on an arbitrary thing that we're gonna all try to acquire, which I think
real estate,
or basically money. We value everything in dollars, so that's what kind of drives me crazy. We all go, this is the easiest way for us to measure our success in dollars, so that's the way we're going to do it.
Well, measuring success doesn't. I mean, who cares? Like, measurements aren't life.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, they think that they are, and
that's why you reach the point of you realize the game is bunk and that it doesn't matter what you have or don't have. Because really, you can do. True. I mean, you can do it, right? Like,
well, that's why.
Not having money is not a final state. Really, it's an invitation to figure out, well, what do you want, and do you want it enough? Are you willing to do what it takes? And maybe what I don't want to find out is I'm not willing.
Oh.
And the alternative will be getting a job, and I don't want that either. And so, well, there is no future for me. I can't see going all the way with art because it costs revealing all of your trauma and shame. And I don't want to not do it because that means I need to go get a job, so you kill yourself.
Well,
those are the three options.
You need to find
artist, day job, suicide. There it is. Art, death, or shut the fuck up and go click your buttons and have a personal life. You see, it all gets fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I think that what a lot of people would say, and I'm not going to say this, but they would say you need to find how your art is going to be valued in this world, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a disgusting thing. It's a despicable way of looking at life and
Well,
art. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's we talked about NFTs last week, or no, we didn't talk about NFTs. We actually haven't talked about NFTs yet.
We did briefly.
But that's the whole thing, is like, oh, we found a new way to give people money. Great. It's not really about
You
art.
could
It's
have
about
given me
giving people
money before. You could have given me money a month ago. You didn't. Because
I
why
gave you
would
money.
why would
Yes.
they? Why
I
would
actually
anyone
did.
give me money? You gave me money. Yes, $5 a month. I appreciate it. That's like why, but like my rent shouldn't really be paid.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, like, how can I go and say this? How can I go on my YouTube channel and say this?
Oh.
But this is the struggle of, should I live? What am I doing? What the fuck is going on? Like, and these are vital questions, and people should not be chill as if they figured it out, because they haven't.
Yeah.
But this is rock and roll. Like, this is the rock and roll, right? This is as close to getting up on stage and screaming as I get. And now that I've calmed down for 2 seconds, I can say, oh, well, what is the market value of that? That was a pretty good, GP Lewis has some pretty good stuff. That was pretty good.
What was the market value of your
He was
outrage?
banging on the steering wheel in his car. That was like a 96. That was like a 97. Ooh, damn, that's good. Well, let's see. It's last 97 GP Lewis had was 4 days ago. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, and like that's what you have to do, right? I mean, if you're gonna be a professional, and you're not, and by that I mean you're not gonna be a professional at anything else, all right? But I mean, it gets very personal because it is about. I mean, because it is about. It's less about hierarchies and more about what do you have to go do tomorrow that you don't want to do. I refuse to do what I don't want to do, and I will hand in my cards of life anytime. I may be more powerful as a cautionary tale.
And I'm encouraging that, and that's why I'm your friend, because I'm here to watch what happens to you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, I think I would go with a smile on my face and saying, well, if I can't write and tweet and read and message freely, and there's no way to make it into money, then I'll die. But I'm going to make you take me to the chipper. I'm going to make you put me in.
Okay.
Feet first. I'm going to make you do it.
All right, I'll volunteer. You don't have to.
I'm fine to give up. I'm fine if you're going to say the world is a place where you must make money. Fine. But you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to put me in the chipper.
Yeah.
And you're going to drive me. And I want ice cream before. I want a butterscotch dipped vanilla cone from Dairy Queen on my way to the chipper. And then you're going to put me in. And you're going to look me in the eye. And we're going to say, you did this. This is your world. I can't live in it. So now you need to turn the blades on and put me into the chipper.
Uh-huh.
And you don't get to wear a bib or an apron or gloves. See, now this is good content.
Oh yeah, I've got some song lyrics already.
See, we did our job. We don't need to die. But
all right.
This is what it takes.
I should probably finish up because I got to get going. But
okay.
This has been a good talk, and thanks for listening. If you listen to this,
good talk. Yes.
Like and subscribe and all that, right?
Sure. And Jeffrey J. Byron's DMs are open if you want to talk about sex, drugs, and or rock and roll.
Oh yeah, I love talking about that stuff.